Welcome to the I Can Do Anything podcast. My name is Colin. Today I am here to talk about the NBA award show that took place on Monday night. It was a really great show. The NBA has done an incredible job of making, I think they got 2 hours, I didn't stay up the entire time, but I think they got 2 hours of good television out of that event, an event that used to just be, there wasn't even an event. They would just do a thing for whoever won the MVP at the team's facilities and, you know, wherever the team that player played for, and then they just released all the other awards, and the only thing that they would do something for was the MVP. So the NBA has done a great job of making this a full 2-hour television event, and I haven't looked at ratings or heard anything about ratings, but they're not going to be good. You know, they're not going to be good ratings. Like, they're not going to be obviously that of, you know, any playoff game, especially the finals. I wonder what the ratings were in comparison to the draft. The NBA is just, Dob and I have talked about it at length. The NBA has done a really great job of owning the entire year. And they don't necessarily own the entire year, but there's events, there's things to talk about. People are talking about basketball, I would assume. I actually just realized as I said that I don't know this at all. I assume people are talking more about basketball right now than they are football. But it's, you know, the football season is close. The football season is essentially 2 months away. I don't know when the first football game is, but I just feel like August is football season. I know that's when preseason at least starts in August. So the NBA has done a really great job. This episode of the I Can Do Anything podcast is brought to you by Fluorescent Things. Everyone needs a little bit of light in their life, and in my professional career as a videographer, I could always use a fluorescent thing or two. Fluorescent Things is my go-to online store for all things fluorescent, whether it's your standard overhead light, photo or video lighting, commercial lighting, or something simple for your home. Maybe you need it for a reading nook, a work desk, or even a construction site. With various fixture types, sizes, bulb shapes, even a repair department, Fluorescent Things will fill your life with light. They even have really random, obscure things like fluorescent lighting for your bike tires and much more for the hipsters out there that like to be weird and different and make a statement. Fluorescent Things is the largest fluorescent sales company in the world, and our listeners can get a 25% discount if you use the promo code THINGS at checkout. That's promo code THINGS at your time of purchase for your 25% off. Thanks again for listening to the I Can Do Anything podcast. Okay, so the NBA award show is, like I said, 2 hours of pretty solid television. Now, I say that with the disclaimer that I fell asleep or that I got too tired to stay up. I didn't fall asleep watching it, but it started at 9 o'clock Eastern time, and I think I was asleep somewhere around 10:30. I couldn't, and I assume they had to have been getting close to the MVP award to probably wrap it right before 11 o'clock. And just like the finals, this shit is on too late. It seems like, and this is just kind of like a political thing, like a geopolitical or just a geographical thing, but like a lot of economics, a lot of industry, I don't know if industry necessarily, but the East Coast isn't what it used to be anymore because the West Coast, and not only in the NBA, but just like, you know, Silicon Valley up in San Francisco, and LA's always been LA, but it seems like LA is sort of taken over in a lot of different aspects of the entertainment world. LA has always been dominant, but it just seems like the culture has shifted to LA more than it has New York. I know that that's really, really true in terms of stand-up comedy. People, you know, a lot of people think of New York as the home of stand-up comedy. I don't know where stand-up comedy was birthed. I know rap was birthed in New York, but I think in the stand-up comedy world, it's always been New York, and it's in the last 10 years shifted to LA. And it seems like because of that, they're trying to cater to that audience. Rather, if you put if the award show and the NBA finals come on at 9, which is what most of the NBA finals games, that's when most of them started. There was 1 or 2 maybe. If it would have gone to game 7, it would have been at 8 o'clock on a Sunday. But even for a Sunday, that's too fucking late, in my opinion, on the East Coast. Because I can stay up and watch that full game, but like, if it starts at 9 o'clock, I'm going to pay for it the next day because I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And, 9 o'clock start, that means a 6 o'clock start. That's fucking prime time on the West Coast. I mean, 9 o'clock is still good for the passionate fans on the East Coast. But man, I don't know how these guys that cover the NBA that are, Stephen A is in his 40s. Mike Wilbon's probably in his 60s, maybe late 50s. These guys are covering games until, if they're on the West Coast, until 1 o'clock maybe. But, Mike Wilbon and Stephen A hang out and do Sports Center spots at 12 o'clock Eastern after these games, after the NBA Finals games, which means they're probably not going to get home or to their hotel until 2, 3 a.m. And then Stephen A gets up and is on First Take at whatever fucking time First Take comes on, 9 o'clock, which means he's probably there at 6 o'clock prepping for the show. It's amazing. I can't do it. And I wake up at 5 o'clock to go work out and then go to my job. And I'm not even staying up for the entire game, let alone staying after and on camera and orating my thoughts. And like, they're obviously seasoned professionals. This is like what they've dedicated their lives to, but it's still very impressive. Like, I don't know if people, it's obviously not as impressive as playing in the game, because the NBA is what it is today, just because of how athleticism, it's amazing. The NBA is a fascinating fucking league. It really is. So the award show, let me get back to the award show a little bit. The award show started off with some good, montages of the season, and they just did a really good job of stretching it out without it seeming. I mean, I was paying kind of close attention to it just because I'm interested in this kind of thing. So I was, and I do video production and just putting on. I'm learning a lot about, this isn't a live stream, it's national television, but it's essentially live streaming. I'm sure that's all a live stream is a production, but just not on a network, So I was paying close attention to it, just how they milk the time, and they gave a lot of time for players to talk. It's obviously what the MVP speech, that Kevin Durant gave years back, and Derrick Rose, that's what the event was for. It was solely for the MVP award. So they gave him a lot more time to talk, and the players that received awards, it's not like they were up there talking forever, but it wasn't like the Oscars or the Emmys or the Tonys where they cut them off with the music quick. So that helped it go 2 hours. They just did there was a lot of cool highlight thingies and little video packages that they had put together, on the 3 finalists for the MVP. And, they gave an award like the ESPYs does, to, gosh, I can't remember her name. Not Sage Steele. Sage Steele was on the little video promo or the little video introduction that they did. The woman that's on Good Morning America and was a basketball player at a small college, and has gone on to be a great broadcaster. Fuck, what is her name? regardless, they gave away an honorary courage award on behalf of Tim Sager, which is really cool, and that's great television. People love emotional stories like that, overcoming sickness. And that woman, I wish I could remember her name. It's gonna come to me at some point. I'm not gonna look it up. It's just gonna pop into my head. Her speech was really great. I'm sure she worked on it, and I don't know if it was a teleprompted thing. It very well could have been. She's a professional. She probably wrote it and read off the fucking teleprompter like a breeze. But because that when Shaq's reading his monologue, there's a teleprompter in the background. And when these people are introduced, you can, when the bad people do it, you can see that there's a teleprompter. You can tell that they're reading. Like when RJ Barrett and Tiffany Haddish's thing was kind of like a scripted back and forth sort of, that Tiffany basically led and RJ was just kind of going off of Tiffany, and it was extremely it was weird. It was a little awkward, but a lot of those kind of things really are, like any presentation of awards during these kind of award shows can get a little canned and just cheesy. But when the bad people, I don't remember who it was, I think it was Trae Young was reading something, and I don't remember who it was that I'm thinking of. It could have been Trae Young, but you can tell when they're reading from a teleprompter. But this woman whose name still hasn't come to me, she was incredible. It was her delivery was great. Just the, pauses, great use of pauses and silence, which I think is really, really underestimated and important in not only speeches, but Andrew Schultz, who I've talked about as a comedian, is so great at pauses and just letting the tension kind of build, and he talks about that a lot. And I think in speeches it's pretty underrated too, your ability to kind of just let your thought, or let the message that you just said, whatever the little bar was that you just let off, to let it float and let people kind of get it and process it and live with it for 3 or 4 or 5 seconds, and then move on to your next thing, rather than just transitioning and giving them something. It's nice to kind of let something just let the room feel it for a little bit, and she's really great at that. She's just got a great, it's why they gave her the award. She's a fucking great broadcaster who has overcome a bunch. So they just did a really great job of, making it great television. And then Giannis Antetokounmpo won MVP. He was great. His speech was really cool. It's kind of the exact opposite of Robin Roberts. Is that her name? I think that is. It just came to me. I know her first name is Robin. I don't know if her last name is Roberts, but it sounds right. It's the exact opposite of Robin Roberts. Hers was incredibly professional and incredibly well done. And Giannis's was horrible, but it was incredibly emotional. And it completely erases, he kept going back over stuff, and you could tell that he had recited it in his head. Cause he'd get a little choked up emotionally, and then he'd repeat the line that he just said in the go. And it was almost like he was reminding himself of what the next thing that he was transitioning into, and, the next group of people, or the next thing or person in particular that he wanted to thank. But I was really glad Giannis won. As you know, as a listener of the I Can Do Anything podcast, I've been vouching for Giannis the entire season. I've said from week 1, Giannis is the MVP, because he led the MVP he led my MVP matrix the entire season. And I want to pull up my stats, and I don't remember what my last MVP matrix came out to be as far as standings. I'm going to take a look here on the opposite side of this quick little advertisement break, but I'm going to pull up the MVP matrix from the last week and break down I don't remember how many I had in my total at that point. I want to say it was close to 10, which is what the total was for players that received MVP votes that were released by the NBA. But I think the voting kind of went the voting went perfect. I really enjoyed the way that the 1 and 2 picks were lined up. Harden got, what was it? Harden got 23 first place votes and 78 second place votes, and Giannis got 78 first place votes and 23 second. I think that's about the margin of victory. 78 for Giannis first place and 23 for Harden first place. I think that I'm really, really happy with that. Like, that is, in my opinion, about the margin of victory. I think that Harden as a scorer was incredible, and he deserves 23 first place votes. But Giannis was consistent and really great all around, not just scoring. He had a great scoring season, but he was a great all around basketball player for the team. He was the leader, the best player on the team for the team that had the best record literally the entire season. The whole season. Harden had a very rocky up and down season. At his highest of highs, he was incredible, but only as a scorer. He certainly does a great job of, Harden does. If Harden would have got the MVP, it could have literally just only been for Capella's contract, because that's the only guy on the floor who he makes better. I think he gets guys open shots because just of how much attention he draws as a scorer, and there's no doubt that James Harden is one of the best scorers that the NBA has ever seen. He's an incredible scorer. He manipulates the game in a way that people hate on, myself included, but at the end of the day, it's smart. Like, why not manipulate the game to have, to try to win? At the end of the day, James Harden, while I think he's very self-centered and delusional, at the end of the day, he's more than likely trying to win games. It's not like he's trying to lose games, but he's trying to win games, and he's also trying to score a lot, and he's also trying to get his teammates involved for the most part, because in order to win, you got to get your teammates involved. And I don't think he's completely delusional to where he just thinks he can do it on his own. Although I'm sure he does at times, in bursts, he certainly can do it on his own. But throughout the course of a season, the Rockets' rocky start and then their big peak, in December, November, January, when he went on that 40-point streak or whatever it was, 30-point streak for 20-some games, or maybe it was into the 30s, I don't remember. But at his highest, he was incredible. But as a scorer, and to Clint Capella as a playmaker, because Clint Capella, I don't know what the fuck his contract is, but it's amazing that a guy of Clint Capella's skill set makes as much money as he does, and it's purely because of James Harden. The same way that Steve Nash got Amari Stoudemire paid in Phoenix and then really paid in New York, where he didn't produce. Like, he was supposed to be like a great free agency signing for New York, and supposed to this is going to be the beginning of New York's championship run. If you asked a New Yorker, that's what they would tell you. Knicks fans are the most optimistic people in the world for the most part. Year in and year out, they're just incredibly like, this is the year, man. That was a terrible New York accent. But yeah, Steve Nash got Amari Stoudemire paid. And a lot of these guys, I think Albert Pujols in baseball was incredible for the St. Louis Cardinals. And then he left to take a bunch of money to go to the Angels and was never the same. You get that money and it's just like, oh, I don't need to fucking try as hard anymore. And, I'm getting a little older. I got kids now. I want to spend time with my family. I don't need to put as much time in the gym, and you don't hone your skills as much. And you live in fucking New York instead of Phoenix. Phoenix is great. I was just in Phoenix for a very short amount of time. Mostly I spent, a lot of my spring break in March up in the Sedona area, which is definitely not Phoenix, but you're in, Phoenix isn't New York either. You go to New York, there's a lot of temptations, there's a lot of stuff to do. You just don't spend as much time honing your craft, and Amari Stoudemire was not what the Knicks wanted, to say the least. And Clint Capella, that contract is not going to be what the Rockets want. I guarantee, well, I don't guarantee it, because Daryl Morey is a fucking idiot, pretty much. Daryl Morey is so stupid. The fact that the Rockets had all those tweets ready to go, all those little statistics that they threw in after they said, congratulations to the MVP, but respectfully, we disagree. It's just like, it just is another thing. It's just another, like, I've talked about it enough, but at first it's the hiring of, somebody to do a report on the refs missing calls against the Warriors, and the CP3, just all the stuff that's going on right now with they're shopping players. I just got a notification today that they're going to shop I think it was potentially 3 players. I think one of them was Tucker. I think one of them was PJ Tucker. I just got a notification that Marc Gasol is staying with the Raptors. Gasol is exercising his $25.6 million player option for next season. So Gasol will be with the Raptors again. I said I was going to take a little advertisement break a while ago, and I still haven't done that. The I Can Do Anything podcast is brought to you by Sneaker Retort. We all buy shoes, some of us more than others, but regardless of how much the shoes you purchase cost or how often you purchase them, it's nice to know ahead of time if you're getting what you paid for. Sneaker Retort is the leading discussion board in the world for reviewing sneakers and is used by sneakerheads from Bangladesh to Machu Picchu. Learn about your favorite brands and connect with retailed sellers. After your purchase, give a rating and review of the seller and the product so that those interested in that seller or a particular shoe or the brand can make an educated decision before they spend their hard-earned money. Whether you're a collector, a manual labor worker, a runner, or a fashionista, Sneaker Retort is your home for witty, sharp, angry, delighted, and incisive remarks, accusations, and satisfactory banter. Our members are passionate about footwear. If you have a passion for what protects your soles, sign up for a free membership to receive early release notifications and our daily newsletter featuring the latest in trends and discounts around the world of kicks. This episode of the I Can Do Anything podcast is also brought to you by Sportage. Obviously, listeners of the I Can Do Anything podcast love sports, but the best way to keep up with the latest in all your favorite sports, leagues, teams, and players is Sportage. Sportage lets you customize alerts for all your favorites. It features articles from award-winning journalists and has an easy-to-use interactive layout. Download the Sportage app today. Okay, so the NBA voting results were as followed. Antetokounmpo finished with 941 points. Harden second with 776. Paul George third, 356. Nikola Jokic fourth. Steph Curry fifth. Damian Lillard sixth. I wonder about that. I don't know. His numbers weren't the greatest. He was certainly a huge part of, if this were a regular season and postseason award, I think Kawhi Leonard would have got a lot more consideration, obviously. But Damian Lillard, that 6 would make sense if it were a postseason award. And I'm a big Damian Lillard fan. I don't know if I agree with that as much, just because my MVP matrix doesn't reflect that necessarily. So Lillard 6th, Joel Embiid 7th, Kevin Durant 8th. That's the one I also don't agree with. Kawhi Leonard 13, Russell Westbrook 10. And then Rudy Gobert and LeBron James both received votes, 1 vote each, and I think it was for 5th place. So they tied for 11th. That doesn't really matter. It's funny to me that Rudy Gobert got a vote. So my MVP matrix, the last week, which is the total, was Giannis 1, Curry 2, George 3. So 1 and 3 are the same. And then Durant 4, Harden 5th, Embiid, Jokic, and Leonard tied for 6th, and then Westbrook 7th and Lillard 8th. But they wouldn't be 7th and 8th because Jokic and Leonard or Embiid, they all tie for 6th. So technically, what would that make? 7, 8. That would make Westbrook 9 and Lillard 10. So yeah, I don't know. I have Durant up a lot higher. I have Curry up a lot. Oh, not that much higher. Curry is 5th and finished 5th in MVP voting. I had him 2nd. I just think Curry's overall attitude, just his effect on the team as a whole. I know that their numbers are a little skewed just because of how star powered that team was during the regular season. So the wins help, obviously. But my MVP matrix is a little different, not too much different. Jokic finished 4th. I had him tied for 6th. Damian Lillard was 6th. I had him 10th. Joel Embiid 7th. That's right about where I've got him. Durant 8th. Again, I've got Durant 4th. Kawhi Leonard 9th. I've got Kawhi Leonard tied for 6th. So that's not all that much different. I like mine better. I wish that I had a vote for MVP. That would be really cool. How many votes were there total? 941 points for Antetokounmpo. I don't know how to do that math. I don't know how many guys vote. But that is how the MVP shook out. I was obviously really happy with it. I thought Giannis deserved it. And it'll be interesting to see what he does in the future. I liked that he ended his speech with, this was a goal and this is a great accomplishment, but it's not the end. This is just the beginning, and I want to win a championship. I also thought it was interesting that I don't think, I didn't stay up for the MVP part, but I did watch the video of Giannis's speech, and they never cut to Harden. The first hour and a half, 20 minutes that I did watch, they never showed Harden, and they showed Giannis. I don't think they showed Paul George at all either. So I wonder if it was a foregone conclusion, like in that room, if Harden and Paul George weren't there, and Giannis was, my assumption if I was in the room would be, Giannis won. They're not going to give an award to somebody that's not here. And my guess is that Harden wasn't there because, that's just if it were the other way around, let's say that, and maybe these guys didn't get invited, or maybe they just declined it, or maybe, Adam Silver could have been like, listen, if you didn't win and if you don't want to be there, I totally understand. And for the most part, I understand. But something tells me that if Giannis wouldn't have won, that he still would have gone. He seems like just so much more just intelligent about his surroundings, and just like, he's a what do they call him? He's an immigrant. He appreciates it way more than Harden does. And he appreciates everything, and not just basketball. I'm sure he appreciates life, and you can just tell in his interview. He's more humble. He's just a smarter, more intellectually, emotionally intelligent person than James Harden. And I think that if he wouldn't have won it, and Harden would have won it, he would have gone just to be a good person and just to, I don't know. So it was weird to me that Harden wasn't there. I could be wrong. He could have been there and they just might have not shown him. But something tells me that in my broadcast background, that if James Harden, who was up for MVP, they showed his highlights and everything like that, he would have, if he would have been there, they would have showed him. So take that for what it is, I guess. But again, I'm just really glad that Giannis won. I want to shift topics a little bit. There was an article that came out today. I'm going to get to some free agency stuff because as free agency approaches, this Sunday night is when it opens. There's just been a lot of different stuff going on, and if you have Bleacher Report or Sportage, I should probably say Sportage. If you've got the Sportage app. Oh shit, I just exposed myself. I got an ad that I don't use the app for. There's a number of different reasons for that, but anyways, if you just open your NBA rumors feed, there's just a whole lot of stuff going on. Again, that Gasol thing that just happened. Gasol will stay with the Raptors. I guess I'll just do free agency now, and I'll get to the NBA coming out with a. I guess they had like an exploratory meeting on, and you know, the biggest takeaway, biggest thing to remember is that it was exploratory. Like this is it was very exploratory, I'm assuming, and part of the article talks about that. But I want to talk about the article after we first get into the NBA rumors section. So there's a report that the Timberwolves tried a Andrew Wiggins and D'Angelo Russell trade package as part of their pursuit. This is from Joseph Zucker. As part of their pursuit from free agent point guard D'Angelo Russell, the Minnesota Timberwolves approached the Nets about a potential sign-and trade that included Andrew Wiggins. Darren Wolfson of Score North added the discussion never even got an inch off the ground in terms of working toward an actual agreement. This past season indicated how far Minnesota have sunk, going from 47 games and making the playoffs in 2017-18 to 36-46 record, and finished 11th in the Western Conference. Trading Wiggins is the clearest way to gain financial flexibility, since he's going to make $27.5 million in 2019-20. Few teams are likely to line up to absorb Wiggins' contract given what he's produced. Yeah, I completely agree. He's just not. Yeah, I don't know. He could be a good third scorer, but he's not going to be your first or really your second. And even with, I guess he's really like, you know, when they had Jimmy Butler, he was kind of the third scorer. Jimmy Butler was definitely one. Karl Anthony Towns could be one, giving the day. But Jimmy Butler proved himself to be the alpha, and he was the one. Karl Anthony Towns is the two, and Wiggins was the three. And I guess he wouldn't even be that good. It would depend on, maybe, I just think like kind of Jimmy Butler is probably right. Like maybe Wiggins just isn't cut out for it. So that's not really much of a report. I don't think that there's going to be a big market for Wiggins out there in the league. Here's the one that I was referring to earlier. The Rockets trade rumors: Clint Capella, PJ Tucker, Eric Gordon, all shopped individually. The Houston Rockets are reportedly trying to trade either center Clint Capella. Good for them. Daryl Morey, do everything you can to get rid of Clint Capella's contract. Please. I beg of you. I really don't even care. And for the most part, I hope that the Rockets continue to not be good enough. But for God's sakes, get rid of Clint Capella. So the Houston Rockets are reportedly trying to trade either center Clint Capella, shooting guard Eric Gordon, or power forward PJ Tucker. I think Eric Gordon's got a great market. I think that should be their focal point. There could be a good market out there for Eric Gordon. He could certainly fit in as a nice scoring piece to a actual championship contender. So they're shopping all these guys for the best available first-round draft pick, which they would attempt to flip in a sign-and-trade deal with the Philadelphia 76ers for star guard Jimmy Butler. Woj and Zach Lowe of ESPN reported the update Wednesday, but noted that the number of potential suitors is limited because they would need cap space to take on one of those players' salaries. None of the Rockets' core players, the three trade candidates mentioned above, along with James Harden and Chris Paul, are free agents this summer, so the front office has the option of maintaining the status quo with the hope that the Golden State Warriors take a step back next season. That's certainly possible. I don't think that's necessarily a horrible option. They very well could. I don't think being complacent and not every team, including teams that win championships, have to upgrade a little bit and retool just with the fluctuation and just the amount of, especially in today's NBA and today's sports, the NBA more so. The NBA is a much more mobile league. You're seeing guys hop all over the place now, and NBA players are making the most money out of any athlete, with maybe the exception of I don't know what the contracts are like with professional soccer players, like in Europe and anywhere other than America, basically. But NBA players are making so much fucking money. You just can't stay complacent, but maybe maybe give it one more try. If the window closed last year after their opportunity the season before, if Chris Paul hadn't gotten hurt, taking the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals to the brink, they played fucking terrible in Game 7, horrible in Game 7. But if the window closed after that season, it's certainly crept open a little bit with all the injuries that the Warriors sustained. So maybe just keeping that core together, that core five, that core five, maybe that's not a horrible option. The article goes on to say, instead, the trade winds continue to gush strong in Houston as general manager Daryl Morey and company appear to be ready to shake things up to reach the Western Conference Finals twice in the past 5 years. Speculation about a rift in the relationship between Harden and Paul has dominated conversation around the Rockets this summer, and while Tucker labeled it fake news, of course he fucking did. I hate that term. Fake news is like the fucking YOLO now. Fake news is the new YOLO, and James Harden is the new Carmelo Anthony. Daryl Morey calls it, or PJ Tucker calls it, fake news in an interview with Sam Amick of The Athletic. He also hinted to it. It's not all the sunshine and rainbows in Houston. But we're talking about blah blah blah. You know what? I'm not talking about the Rockets anymore. The Rockets are clearly. I don't know if they're. I wonder how serious they're shopping these players. Like the article mentioned, maybe they just keep it. But I think that they should really go after somebody for Eric Gordon. If not just to clear up some cap space. I don't know when Harden's contract is up. Chris Paul's was a long one. I think Chris Paul's was a 4-year contract, I want to say, maybe 5 years even. And then last year was his first year of that contract, I believe. So Chris Paul's got, and they could... Those rumors about Chris Paul could still be true. Like Chris Paul, who I respect and have loved ever since he entered the league, could just be trying to save face a little bit, and there could very well be a riff. And although PJ Tucker calls it fake news, and journalism is a shell of what it used to be. There's still a chance that that's true, and there's still a chance that they shop Chris Paul. So it's certainly possible. Let's continue to scroll the NBA rumors. Looks like the Celtics are zeroing in on Kemba Walker. Current Kemba Walker destination likelihood from Brad Townsend is Boston 1, Charlotte 2, and Dallas 3. Definitely in the mix with Lakers somewhere down the line, New York. So Brad Townsend has Boston 1, Charlotte 2, Dallas 3, and then maybe Lakers 4 and New York 5. As a LeBron guy, that kind of sucks to hear. I would love to see Kemba with LeBron, but it'll be interesting to see. I can't wait for free agency to really start. This is all just such a tease. It's just everybody reporting. Multiple teams want to pair Kawhi and Jimmy Butler. Yeah, of course they do. KD reportedly declines $31.5 million option. Durant, Irving, and Kawhi Leonard have all opted out. So that leads me, I think that's that leads me, the NBA rumors page now leads me to what I wanted to talk about earlier. The NBA had a exploratory sort of get together that is headlined by NBA exploring mid-season play-in tournaments. No, NBA exploring mid-season, play-in tournaments, reducing 82-game schedule. So representatives from NBA teams and the league discuss potential tweaks to the regular season, such as shortening the 82-game structure or adding an in-season tournament, according to ESPN's Kevin Arnovitz. Arnovitz says, according to those with knowledge of the conversation, which sources regard as very exploratory, and I think that's a really key thing to keep in mind here. This is in the business world, you people with any success try to think big. It's why Adam Silver has done a really great job. It's what I've talked about with the awards ceremony and the draft and the draft lottery picking. Adam Silver's done a great job of monetizing all this and thinking big picture, and that comes from exploratory committee meetings and brainstorming sessions, and maybe something will come out of this, but I'd be shocked if they shorten the NBA season. Historians and statisticians, it's the same reason baseball hasn't chopped off any games. It's because it would fuck with the stats, and it'd fuck with the history books and all that stuff. You'd have 30 years from now, you'd have guys playing less games, and the totals wouldn't add up, and it would just it makes for it makes the future, whatever the future Jordan versus LeBron argument is, it makes that a lot more difficult. It'd be hard to compare if they shortened the league. It'd be hard to compare LeBron's stats to, let's say they shortened the season next season. Just hypothetically, it'd be hard to compare LeBron's stats to Zion's, because Zion would play fewer games. So according to those with knowledge of the conversation, which sources regard as very exploratory, again, a very important portion of this to remember, the proposed reforms would be adopted initially as a pilot program. The NBA would have the chance to observe the trial run and evaluate the long-term viability of such a schedule design. Arnovitz reported a regular season with as few as 58 games was thrown around, but added the appetite among team officials for a major reduction in the number of games was limited. I think that they would get that generally from the NBA community as a whole. Maybe players would appreciate it, but that's probably it. Fans, I don't think, would like it very much. Some might see a shorter regular season as an overreaction after Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson both suffered significant injuries during the NBA Finals. Yep, the players would certainly be in favor of this. However, Baxter Holmes and Tom Haberstroh wrote for ESPN in June 2016 that player injuries were on the rise and that the physical demands put upon them have been higher. Kawhi Leonard was also open about how he might not have been able to continue playing at a high level had the Toronto Raptors not managed his workload carefully. He was quoted, if we didn't do that, I wouldn't be here right now for sure, in an interview with Rachel Nichols. The NBA altered the schedule in August of 2018 to allow for a little more downtime between games. Teams had fewer back-to-backs. It didn't have to play 4 games in 5 nights. The recent conference call indicates the league is at least willing to entertain additional ideas. That's, again, exactly what I said. The NBA is where it is today financially and globally because they're entertaining these ideas, and that's what makes a great business, really. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver has spoken publicly about the potential for an in-season tournament to coincide with a cut in regular season games. For fans, I wonder what that means. There's a link to has spoken publicly. Let me go to that, and then I'll come back to this article. So Adam Silver is, I just wonder what an in-season tournament means. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, it may have been given if guys were playing all 82 games. It's not optimal way to present it from a fan standpoint. Silver said in a news conference, I think we always have to step back and remind ourselves that at the end of the day, this is about the fan, especially as the media landscape is changing and the bundle of pay television is changing. And we may move into a world where we have to win that support of the viewer every night to your point, it may be the case if you're... Tell me about the in-season... Silver again mulls NBA mid-season tournament. At mid-season tournaments, for example, play-in tournaments, because even accepting that players have so many miles on their bodies, there may be better ways to present it. Assuming guys are playing 82 games, maybe there should be a certain number of games in the regular season, and then there should be two tournaments throughout the season. This is far from the first time Silver has broached the idea of playing mid-season tournaments, proof that the commissioner is firmly behind the idea at some point of making them a reality as part of the league's regular season. That dovetails with his comments at the Sloan Sports Analytics Conference in Boston, in which he said during the interview with The Ringer's Bill Simmons that the All-Star Game didn't work. But even as... And the All-Star Game is fixed now. Well, when was this? When did he say that? It says last month, and this article was April 12 of 2019. I wonder why he thinks the All-Star Game didn't work. I thought the All-Star Game was great. Huh. So I still don't really have a good grasp of what a mid-season tournament would look like. He references international soccer being a commonplace internationally. It would take a while to develop new traditions, because I think the initial reaction may be, who cares who wins the mid-season tournament? It's all about the Larry O'Brien trophy. Yeah. I think for the same reason that people sort of don't pay attention in the middle of the season is because we've put so much. The LeBron Jordan argument is concretely grounded in how many championships Jordan won, and that's where people have kind of directed the importance to. That's where the narrative is. If you want to be the greatest ever, you got to win championships. That's the name of the game. So maybe a mid-season tournament would just be kind of seen with that same light. So let me go back now to NBA Commissioner Adam Silver has spoken publicly about the potential for an in-season tournament to coincide with a cut in regular season games for fans of building franchises. A mid-season competition could provide something to get excited about. Yeah, that's true. The New York Knicks, Cleveland Cavs, and Phoenix Suns, the three worst teams from this past year, were all out of the playoff race and early in the season. In a knockout format, though, they might be able to get hot for a few games and make a deep run. These proposals still require multiple steps before achieving tangible progress. Again, this was just a conference call, but it's encouraging they've at least opened up the dialogue. Yeah, it really is. And again, that's why the NBA is such a great league. In my opinion, the greatest league of the major four and the greatest sports league in the world right now. I think that about wraps it up for the I Can Do Anything podcast. Free agency begins on Sunday. I will be up at my cottage, but I will be bringing the podcasting equipment. So I appreciate you listening to the I Can Do Anything podcast today, brought to you by Landscaped. Are there any homeowners out there? If you own a home, in most cases, you know that you're going to have some yard work. Landscaped is here to help. Landscaped takes pride in having the most extensive catalog of outdoor tools, appliances, furniture, lighting, materials, decor, power supplies, pool and spa, gardening, recreation, water and irrigation, accessories, and more. Visit our stores across the United States to receive help from our trained landscape architects, take classes and listen to seminars on a wide variety of topics and focus areas, including Gardening 101, Owner's Construction Best Practices, Insect and Pest Control and Behavior, Creative Materials Concepts, Pool and Spa Maintenance, Fencing and Perimeter Design, Owning Your Space, and many, many more. Or visit online at landscaped.com/anything. That's Landscaped, LANDSCAPED.com/anything to receive $10 off your first order of $50 or more and $50 off any order of $300 or more. That's landscaped.com/anything. A special savings for listeners of the I Can Do Anything podcast. Landscaped. Like I said, that about wraps it up for the I Can Do Anything podcast today. I appreciate you listening. I'll be back probably Monday or Tuesday of next week with another episode. Have a great night.